Welcome to another episode of the Wandering Watercolor. Today we are painting the last page of the Cute Cat watercoloring book, which is a book that I make using lithographs, so it's all handmade. It's a watercoloring book that I made so that people that love watercolor painting like myself can just practice just painting, not having to worry about drawing a subject matter, but can just strictly practice on different brushstrokes and techniques of blending and adding watercolor and ink and layering. So this is the last page. Now the pages inside of the book, they kind of vary. I sometimes switch them up so that people have so that it has like a different front page. So if it's out of order, just kind of look for the one that you're working on, and I'm going to make all of these into a playlist so that it's kind of easily accessible, so that people don't have to really search for it and just kind of look and pick which one. But yeah, let's get over to the painting table. So this is the page that we're working on today, and this is a very simple one. It's just an orange kitten with green eyes. The light is coming from this way, so this is all kind of in shadow. It should be very, very simple. I'm using, as all the rest of the ones for this series, for this coloring book, I'm using the little portable brush, water brush, that I have inside of the watercolor palettes that I make. You can purchase one of these from my website or my Etsy shop. All the info will be in the description. And if you've already purchased it from me, thank you. I make everything by hand, and it's a kind of a long and time-consuming process. But I do appreciate you if you did purchase it from me. Now, if you are just wanting to paint along with us, you can take a moment to just pause the video and then draw out the image. It's a fairly simple image. And then you can just kind of paint along with the same techniques that excuse me, with the same techniques that we will be using. The colors themselves that we'll be using, you can mix them off of any watercolor palette. This is just the one that I'm using. And I always recommend having a rag and a scrap piece of paper next to you, along with just a little jar or a cup of water, so that you don't have to change the reservoir. These are convenient when you're on the go, but you don't want to be changing the reservoir every time. And this is just a porcelain soap dish that I use to mix my watercolors in. I got it from the local store. You can pretty much get one of these at any store, or just look for them online. Or you can even just use like a small dish that you have available at home. But yeah, don't do that without asking your significant other to make sure that they're fine with that. Speaking from experience. Okay, so the very first thing we will do is we will put the collar down the for the fur collar. Basically, it's all orange except the kitten has like this white spot going from like the muzzle to the bottom of the chin to down here, and then here everything else is orange. And so we're basically doing what's called a flat wash to cover the parts, to cover the majority of the fur before we start putting on the shadow. Excuse me. Okay, so we're basically just getting the yellow orange, or the darker orange, or the darker yellow, which is kind of like a yellow orange here, and then we're making it more orange by adding some red to it. And then we'll also kind of dilute it so that it's more watery, since we don't want the pigment to be so strong, because we will be adding several layers, and if you start off with a very pigmented wash, then the layers can start looking kind of weird, kind of like granulated, and you don't get really, it won't read right if it's too heavily pigmented. Unless you're going for like a really dark area, you want to make it really dark, then if it's heavily pigmented, it won't really make that much of a difference. But with lighter colors, specifically like yellow, orange, red, you want to be more cognizant of that. Okay. So that looks pretty. I'm gonna add a little more of the yellow, darker yellow. Okay, so I'm good with that. We'll go ahead and we will do the wash, basically all over here. Okay. Also the front leg. Including the little back paw here and the front paw. I'm gonna add a little here. Now the way that it is right here is a little weird. Like it's got the kitten's got a white spot right here. Kind of like from the muzzle all the way down to the neck, front of the chest. But then there's like a little bit of connection, and then there's another white spot. So it's kind of strange. Okay, we're adding that in. Don't be too worried about staying inside of the lines too perfectly. Okay. And then all of this is basically kind of like that. Kind of like I'm just gonna add a little more water because we want to lighten it up a little bit. Don't want it to be too dark. Just careful with the eyes. You don't want to get anything in the eyes. There we go. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. There. That was pretty quick, right? Honestly, I'm just gonna add a little more right here. The reason being is like I probably should have left it more. I probably should have left all of this white, but since I didn't, it's better to just kind of like double down and fill it in, and then just leave a little bit right there. Okay. All right. So that's looking good. Next step, I'm going to grab some of this kind of like blackish bluish, a little bit of brown. And what I'm going to do is, so the light is coming this way, but it's actually coming a little bit from behind. So it's kind of like from the right, but further back. So it's kind of like that. And so I am going to add shadow, which is going to run right there. There we go. I actually like the gradation in the shadow. It adds, makes it, flip that down. Makes it look more interesting. Okay. Okay. Next. So I'm not even really gonna worry about the coloring in the shadow of the white spots here. I'm just gonna, whenever I do the shadow wash over this, it'll just kind of be a part of it. And this kitten, it doesn't really have stripes, but it does have some darker spots, which almost look like, excuse me, they almost look like stripes. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab some of this brown and maybe some of this burgundy, and what I'm doing is just kind of like strengthening, making the tone, the orange tone, a little darker, a little more reddish. And I'm not diluting it anymore with water, so it stays pretty heavily pigmented. I am just gonna do a couple of kind of like lines right here. As you can tell, it's not overpowering the color that's already there. I'm sure you've probably seen orange cats like that kind of have like some stripes, but they're not very dominant stripes. I'm gonna put some on the back here. It's like orange on top of orange, and they're not very, like, they're not heavily pronounced. There we go. There we go. Do a little bit on the other one. There we go. And I'm gonna do some on the tail here. The tail is gonna be fairly dark when we go ahead and apply the shadows, but at least we get a better idea for how the patterns look, even if they do get completely covered up. Do a little bit right here. Not too much, just a little bit. Like that in the face. A bit like that. Honestly, I just kind of wanted to give it like a little eyebrow there. Thought it would look kind of cute. There we go. And a little bit over here in the back. And over here. And darken this up. A little darker. See how much lighter it dried very light. Okay, so that's pretty good. Yeah, that's fine. So I like that. And while that's drying, then we will go ahead and we'll do the eyes. We'll go ahead and we'll grab the yellow here. That's yellow. I know colors. No, that's the green. We'll grab the green. What I meant as I was grabbing it, I was thinking I need to add yellow to it. So I'll grab some of this. There we go. Oh crap, I got some of the black in it. Uh-oh. That's why it's always handy to have a rag. Go like that. There we go. Okay, grab some more of that. And some more of that. Okay, that's fine. Okay, dang it. That black up here keeps sneaking out. I'm just gonna wipe it all off. I always have several rags just in case. Like if one of them gets too dirty, you could just switch to the next one. Okay, so for the eye, very carefully, I'm gonna cover the pupil. I'm gonna try my darnest not to touch the highlight. Okay, just very slowly, very slowly. That's it. Okay, that's pretty much it. Yep, I'm gonna brush off the color into the rag from the brush. And I'm just gonna go over it, take it off, and do that again, just get it off of the eyeball. Okay. There we go. Alright, yeah. So that looks good. Next. Okay, I'm just gonna clear that green. Fairly easy to mix, so if I need it again, I'll do that, but I don't think I'll be mixing it again. Okay, so next we will be working on the shadow. The shadow is gonna be kind of like a mix between the brown and the bluish blackish that we have here in the corner. Okay, I'm gonna add some water to it. You know, honestly, I'm also gonna add a little bit of orange to it, just because orange is complementary to blue, and this is a very dark blue. This color, it's not necessarily black, but when you lay it on without diluting it, it looks black, but it's actually just a really dark blue. Okay, I just realized though that I forgot to color in the ears and the nose. So let's do that first before we start applying the shadow. And I'm gonna do that by clearing up some of the space here, and then adding a little bit of red. Make sure my brush is clean. I don't want to make it like a little bit of white. A little more red. Okay, and a little more white. More white. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna add a little more orange to it. Okay, we'll go like that. And we're gonna go like that. And we'll go like right here. Okay. Okay, that looks good to me. I just realized that I left this part over here of the eye. So I'm just gonna grab some of the orange, just color it in. It's a darker orange, but that's fine. A lot of the times, you know how like cats and kittens have that kind of like a darker outline around their eyes. I'm fine with that. There we go. Okay, So now we can focus on mixing the shadow color, which will kind of envelop all of this right here, including, like, it'll cover a part of this and a part of like this, and then up to a part of the front leg. You know, there'll be some going around like right here, right here. Yeah, so let me just kind of test it out first. That is way too dark. That is definitely way too dark. So I'm just gonna pick up some of it with the brush and rinse it off in my jar, and do that a couple of times because it is way too dark. And basically what I need to do is add a little more brown, and then just dilute it with water, and continue that process if I need to just dilute it some more. Let's see. It's a little better, but still just too dark. I'll keep picking it up and putting it in the jar, and then just basically I'm replacing the pigment. When I do that, I'm replacing the pigment that's already on the dish. I'm picking up the color, throwing it in the jar, and then just kind of like rinsing off the brush, and then adding in water, just water from the jar. And what that does is just makes it lighter, because there's more water than pigment, which makes it a lot lighter. Which, yeah, this is just honestly, yeah, because when it dries, this will look just fine. Okay, so yeah, I'm good with that. And also, my table is in a very slight slant. That's maybe like half of a degree of an angle, so the water ends up pulling down here. So that means that most of the pigment is down here. So if I pull from the mixture up here, there's less pigment, so it won't be as heavy. So, all right, here we go. The way that the shadow is gonna hit is gonna go right here. I'll go right here, like that, like that. Try not to rub it too much into the places that there's color, because it'll just end up picking up the color. Yeah, and you don't want that. Go like that. Cover all of this down here. And all of this. And maybe a little bit of like that. To show like almost like some light is bouncing off and coming through on that end. Cover this. And this paw, and give it some form. And give a little bit of kind of like a couple of strokes here for the fur. There we go. There we go. Now, yeah, up here it's a little weird, because you have this part is kind of in shadow, and this part is a little bit as well. And you kind of need to rub it in a little bit, but be careful not to pick up the color underneath. And just basically just use water, not too much water. Dab your brush in the rag if you need to, but you don't want there to be like a harshly defined line here, because it's kind of like fading into the shadow. That's better. I mean, there's still some right here, like, but that's much better. There we go. Okay. And then there is also a shadow right here on the back of the ear. right here. And I'm gonna get from the darker pigment and then just cover the tail completely. Okay. See, you can, that gives it so much form just doing that. Like you can completely, you can feel the light and how it, the shadow, and you can feel the form and the depth of the shape of the cat. So we're gonna add a little bit here, like that, a little bit for the paw, right there. And you're just gonna make some strokes there for the hair, or the fur, I should say. And also just do a little, like a couple of strokes here and there, just to show that there's fur. There we go. So that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna add some more here. And then I'm gonna add more here because this is a much darker space. And back here a little more. When I dab the brush like that against the canvas, basically I'm just adding the pigment as opposed to kind of like brushing it in. I'm just trying to add it more in like a one space, one spot. So we're pretty close to being done, but we're not done yet. So we do want to add more definition. And the way we're going to do that is kind of like I grabbed a bunch of the brown here and I just laid it down right here, but it's mixed with a lot of the black, or blackish bluish. So I'm going to add an outline right there. There's an outline. And right there. And basically, I just want to kind of further define what's already there. I'm gonna give a couple of lines here, show the fur. There we go. I often like to add just kind of like an outline to the part that's on the side of where the shadow is. To me, it just helps give it a sense of depth. Like, I'm not going to add one on this side, but on this side just helps emphasize that end. Now, as my brush, I didn't rinse my brush. I'm just gonna grab some of the orangish, pinkish here, and then just add a piece right there for the ear, and just kind of give like a little outline, maybe some strokes, and do the same right there, just so that it's, because it just needs more definition. And also the same for the nose. I'm gonna go right here. That's it. That's it. In fact, I might need to pick up some of that pigment. I just kind of like brushed my brush against the rag, and then that's it. Okay, so that's good. So while all that is drying, I am gonna go straight in here. I'm gonna miss my brush off a little bit. So it has a little bit of water. I'm gonna go straight in here where the black is. And just go right there. Right in the pupil. Be very careful, very slow. Not in a rush at all. There we go. And do the same for that side. There we go. Perfect. That's all we need for that. And I'm gonna kind of rub it in here where the brown is. And I'm gonna continue adding on basically just contrast. I'm gonna add a little bit here for the toes, the underline, right there, there, and right here, there we go. And do the same for the tail back here, like that. Kind of emphasize this is the dark part right there. Put a little more here. Maybe it's, I'm gonna brush it off right there, kind of. I want it to be a little fainter, but I still want the definition back here because this is kind of like immersed in shadow. There we go. There we go. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit more of an outline to the eye. Like, you know how cat's eyes often have that dark outline. Yeah, let's do that. Go on top. And maybe a little bit of a nostril here. And maybe a little more outline over here. Now it's pretty much done. I'm just kind of like picking at it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's always interesting how you can see the form kind of like develop as we progress through the painting. Like if you go to the beginning of the video and then come back to this point, you can kind of see the transition of it going from looking flat to looking more three-dimensional with the shadows, especially in watercolor. I feel like they add so much depth to making it look so much more realistic, or at least more three-dimensional, because this is obviously kind of like it's fairly realistic, just the way that it's rendered is a little more cartoony. But still, yeah, I like it. If we took away the edges that are defined very harshly, it would look more realistic. It just takes a lot more time to build up to that. And this is also kind of like for beginners, but yeah, this is pretty much done, and I'm happy with it. And yeah. So that was pretty much it for that one. Let me know what you think. If you think that something needs to be changed, or actually if you have a different way that you prefer rendering your watercolor paintings, that you're like the different techniques that you're practicing with these watercolor coloring books, let me know. Tag me on Instagram, or just send a message to me either on the channel or through my website. Whatever works. I'm actually interested in seeing how people render them, because it can be the exact same thing, but you can render it so many different ways. You can change the markings, you can change the light source, colors, make it more abstract. All of that is very subjective and at the preference of the artist. So yeah, I'm interested to see. And if you purchased the book from me, thank you. I do make all of them by hand, so I appreciate you. And also, if you just wanted to paint along with us and you just drew it out and painted with us, thank you as well. Happy to have you. Basically, if you want to buy any of the little pocket watercolor painting kits that I make or the watercoloring book, it'll all be in the description, my Etsy shop and my website. Yeah. And I'll be making another one soon. I'm going to switch over to, now the next book is going to be painting people. And other than that, I appreciate your time and I will see you next time.